The California gold rush made thousands of men rich. But here's what they don't teach you. The richest man never touched gold. He never swung a pickaxe. He never stood in freezing water sifting through mud. He sold shovels. And by the time the miners realized what was happening, he'd already won. This isn't a story about finding gold. It's about understanding what people really need when they're chasing a dream. And it started with a lie. Let me ask you something. If someone told you there was a mountain of gold just sitting in a river, free for anyone willing to grab it, what would you do? Would you stop and think? Or would you run? In 1848, that's exactly what happened. A carpenter named James Marshall found gold flakes in a California stream. Within months, the news spread across the world. Men abandoned their families. Farmers left crops rotting in fields. Sailors jumped ship mid-voyage. Over 300,000 people flooded into California between 1848 and 1855. They called themselves the 49ers. They thought they were chasing fortune. They were actually chasing each other. Here's what most history books leave out. By the time most miners arrived, the easy gold was already gone. The men who got there first, the ones in 1848, they made money. Some found nuggets the size of eggs just lying in streams, but everyone who came after, they were digging through dirt that had already been picked clean. And yet they kept coming. Ships arrived daily in San Francisco harbor, so overloaded they almost sank. The docks were clogged with abandoned boats because the crews had all run off to mine gold. But this isn't the tragic part. The tragic part is what happened next. Most miners went broke within months. They spent everything they had on supplies, equipment, and hope. They lived in tents. They ate rancid food. Disease spread through camps like wildfire. Cholera, dysentery, scurvy. Men died in mud, alone, thousands of miles from home. The average miner made less than $20 a week, barely enough to survive. Some made nothing at all. While they were digging, someone else was watching. His name was Samuel Brannan, and he understood something the miners didn't. It doesn't matter who finds gold. What matters is who sells the shovels. Brannan wasn't a miner. He was a merchant, and in early 1848, when he first heard rumors about gold, he didn't grab a pickaxe. He grabbed every shovel, pan, and tool he could find in California. He bought out entire stores. He cleaned out suppliers. And then he waited. Here's where it gets brilliant. Brannan didn't just sell shovels. He created the demand. One morning in May 1848, Brannan ran through the streets of San Francisco, holding a small vial of gold dust above his head, screaming, "Gold, gold, gold," from the American River. People stopped. They stared. They believed him. What they didn't know, Brannan had already bought every shovel in Northern California. He'd purchased them for less than $1 each. By the end of that week, he was selling them for $15. That's a 1,500% markup. Within 2 weeks, San Francisco was a ghost town. Every able-bodied man had left for the goldfields, and every single one of them had bought supplies from Samuel Brannan. He made $36,000 in 9 weeks. That's over $1 million in today's money. And he never once stepped foot in a mine. But this isn't the part written in textbooks. What they don't tell you is that Brannan knew the gold would run out. He didn't care because he wasn't selling tools. He was selling hope. This decision solved one problem and created 3 more. Let's pause here, because if you're thinking, well, Brannan was just smart, you're missing the pattern. Brannan wasn't smarter than the miners. He just understood something they didn't. When people chase a dream, they stop thinking clearly. Psychologists call this goal gradient effect. The closer you think you are to a reward, the less you notice the cost of getting there. Miners saw gold. They didn't see the price of shovels, the cost of food, the risk of disease, or the odds of failure. Brannan saw all of it, and he built a business on top of their blind spot. But he wasn't the only one. While miners were digging, an entire shadow economy was forming around them, and the people running it? They were getting rich in ways the miners couldn't even see. Take Levi Strauss. You know his name because of jeans. But in 1853, Strauss wasn't a fashion designer. He was a fabric salesman who noticed something simple. Miners' pants kept ripping. The work was brutal. Denim wasn't strong enough. So Strauss started reinforcing pants with copper rivets at stress points. He didn't invent denim. He didn't invent pants. He just made them better for people doing hard labor. By 1870, he was selling thousands of pairs a year. Levi Strauss and Company is still around today. The miners, most of them are forgotten. Then there were the shipping companies. Moving people and supplies to California became more profitable than mining itself. Shipping magnates charged $300, $400 per passenger, about $10,000 in today's money, for a 6-month voyage around South America or across disease-ridden Panama. They made fortunes whether or not their passengers ever found gold. And here's the quiet part. The infrastructure didn't just support the gold rush, it outlasted it. Banks opened to store gold, then stayed open when the gold ran out. Hotels built for miners became permanent fixtures. Railroads laid to move equipment kept running long after the mines closed. San Francisco transformed from a village of 1,000 people in 1848 to a city of 25,000 by 1850. The gold rush ended. The economy it created didn't. And this is where history quietly changed direction. Let me show you why this matters. Because this isn't just a story about the 1800s. This exact pattern repeats in every economic boom. Every single one. The dot-com boom? Everyone wanted to build the next Amazon. Most of those startups failed. But the companies selling server space, web hosting, and bandwidth, they survived. Amazon Web Services, which rents computing power to other businesses, makes more profit than Amazon's retail operation. The smartphone revolution? Thousands of app developers tried to strike it rich. A few succeeded. Most went broke. But Apple and Google, the ones controlling the app stores and taking a 30% cut of every sale, they made billions. Cryptocurrency? Everyone's trying to mine Bitcoin or launch the next altcoin. Most will lose money, but Nvidia, the company selling the graphics cards miners need, their stock went up 3,000% between 2016 and 2021. Do you see the pattern? The dream always attracts the crowd. The infrastructure always makes the money. But this doesn't mean what most people think it means. Here's where the traditional narrative gets it wrong. People love to say, don't be a miner, be a shovel seller, as if it's that simple. As if the lesson is just be smarter. That's not the lesson. The lesson is this: humans are wired to chase the dream, not the system. And that's not a flaw. That's biology. When you see opportunity, your brain releases dopamine. You feel excitement, possibility, freedom. That's why miners abandoned everything. That's why people buy lottery tickets, invest in meme stocks, quit stable jobs to start businesses. The dream feels like agency. It feels like control. Selling shovels feels like giving up. It feels like admitting you're not special enough to strike gold yourself. So most people don't do it, even when it's the smarter play. Here's the trap. Society needs both. It needs dreamers to take risks and push frontiers. And it needs infrastructure builders to create the systems that let dreams scale. The problem is, we glorify the dreamers and forget the builders. We remember the gold miners in stories and movies. We don't remember Samuel Brannan, but Brannan died rich. Most miners died broke. So the real question isn't whether you should be a miner or a shovel seller. The real question is, do you understand which one you're being right now? Let's make this personal. Imagine you're standing in San Francisco in 1849. Two men approach you with offers. The first man hands you a map. He says, "There's gold in this river. I've seen it with my own eyes. Go dig and you'll be rich within a year." The second man offers you a contract. He says, "I'll pay you a steady wage to sell tools to miners. No treasure, no adventure, just reliable income." Which one feels right? Be honest. The map feels like freedom. The contract feels like settling. That's the psychological trick. The map might lead to nothing. The contract might make you wealthier in the long run, but the map feels like winning. The contract feels like you're helping someone else win. And that feeling, that emotional pull toward the dream, is why the pattern keeps repeating. Because we're not just making financial decisions, we're making identity decisions. Am I the kind of person who takes risks, or am I the kind of person who plays it safe? Most people choose risk, not because it's smarter, because it feels like living. So here's the big pattern. Every economic boom creates two parallel economies. One is visible, one is invisible. The visible economy is the dream. Gold miners, dot-com startups, crypto traders, AI app developers. This is where the stories happen. This is where fame and failure both live. A few people win big. Most people lose. The invisible economy is the infrastructure, shovels, server space, payment processors, compute power. This is where consistent money gets made. No headlines, no glory, just compounding returns. History tends to forget the invisible economy, but the invisible economy doesn't care. It just keeps running. And right now, in 2025, we're living through another gold rush. It's called artificial intelligence. Everyone's racing to build the next ChatGPT, the next breakthrough AI model, the next killer app. Tens of thousands of startups, billions in venture capital. Most of them will fail. But the companies selling the infrastructure, NVIDIA selling GPUs, Microsoft and Amazon renting cloud compute, OpenAI licensing API access. They're making money whether the apps succeed or fail. Same pattern, different century. If you're building an AI product right now, ask yourself, am I the miner or am I selling shovels? And more importantly, do I know the difference?